Throughout the past 10 years, there have been an overall decline of about 10% in the crime rate of America. According to the UCR, a program that collects dependable data on crimes in America, between the years of 2017 and 2018 alone, there was more than a 3% drop in violent crimes committed. Although these statistics show hope for a generally less violent country, there are many Americans who are fearful that they will be the next victims of crime. They believe this because of the many misconceptions and fallacies that have been fed to them through symbolic interactionism. The statistics may also provide inaccurate measures of crime because of biases and prejudices. In this video, I will talk about the reasons behind why Americans are afraid of crime, discuss the social perceptions and fallacies about crime in America, and explain why it is difficult for the FBI to measure crime accurately. After giving much thought to the question of why Americans are so fearful of crime, the first thing that comes to mind is the ring system that my family recently bought. I remember as a kid I would play out in the front yard with my siblings until the streetlights came on. My front door was never locked and my family members would come and go as they pleased. But recently, after years of leaving the doors unlocked, my parents installed a ring system, which is basically a doorbell with a camera to detect if there is any suspicious activity going on in the neighborhood. It is also a more effective way to keep the doors safely locked. The only reason why my family went from leaving the doors unlocked to having a fancy locking system that I can think of is because of fear. This type of fear comes from the lack of human knowledge. No one can tell the future or know when something tragic will happen, so humans naturally want to protect what they do know is right in front of them. Because of my upbringing from group learning, I am biased towards keeping the doors unlocked and facing the fear of the unknown because, in reality, crime doesn't happen as often as the media makes it look like. The media tends to highlight the major crimes that are going on in the country and in communities, which makes it easy to think that crime is a fear to dwell on. On the other hand, it is a logical argument to say that any crime is something to look out for and to protect yourself against, if you have the resources. I imagine this was my parents' thought process when they brought the ring system to our house. Finally, it can be concluded that Americans, just like any other human beings, become fearful of what they cannot control, which makes it easy for the mass news and social media to penetrate the fears and lives of American citizens. The next topic I am going to talk about is the fallacies Americans come across that distort their conceptions of crime in America. The most common fallacy that Americans come across is the fallacy of insufficiency. With the help of social media, people of authority are constantly posting their thoughts and opinions about current events. It is easy to give into believing that you read what you read and completely skip the steps of critical thinking. Oftentimes, the people of power who post about their opinions do not give much evidence to back up their claims. This would be an appeal to ignorance. Or they will state one statistic and call it a day, which is an example of the naturalistic fallacy. Oftentimes, there will be people who have limited numbers from an experiment they conducted and assume big conclusions automatically. This is an example of limited sampling. In summary, fallacies easily distort the way Americans view crime today. The FBI gathers all of its data through state or federal programs like the UCR. UCR stands for Uniform Crime Reporting. The ultimate goal of the UCR is to provide a transparent database so that Americans can stay in touch with the crime of America and develop a trust with the government. Although the goal is a pure one, there are some limitations to the transparency of the FBI. Because of natural bias, there will be crimes that go unreported. Either law enforcement will choose not to record a crime, or victims of crime will not report what has happened out of fear of further victimization. Prejudice can lead to biased statistics as well. Law enforcement has notoriously targeted certain people groups based on their personal biases. This leads to skewed data and will lead to inconsistency in how information is interpreted because the American general public will see that crime statistics lead to one conclusion when the data could, in fact, be completely manipulated. All in all, the FBI has good intentions in that it collects data that is posted on a government website and is available to the American population, but personal biases and prejudices skew the data. In conclusion, Americans have become fearful of crime because of the misinterpretation of data, the mass amounts of media that portray crime as a consistent occurrence in American communities, and the commonality of fallacies in the data given by the government and developed in group learning.